What's going on, everybody? Dr. Chad Woolner here.
And Dr. Buddy Allen.
And this is episode 41 of the Health Fundamentals Podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about CrossFit. Is it bad for your health? So let's get started. You're listening to the Health Fundamentals Podcast. I'm Dr. Chad Woolner.
And I'm Dr. Buddy Allen. And this show is about giving you the simple but powerful cutting-edge tools you need to change your health and your life.
So sit back and enjoy the show as we show you the path to your best life down to a science. So hey everybody, hope you guys are having an awesome day. We are here with our good friends, Brandon and Ashley. They are the proud owners of Power Seekers CrossFit here in Meridian. And so we thought we would bring them on for this highly controversial episode. Not really, but anyhow, we're going to be talking about CrossFit. All things CrossFit. So thanks for being with us, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's first start with kind of a quick introduction of who you guys are, what got you guys into CrossFit in the first place, and then ultimately what got you guys to take the plunge of owning a CrossFit gym.
Sure. Go ahead.
You go first.
Oh, all right. So Brandon, and I've been doing CrossFit for about 4 to 5 years. Got into it kind of by accident and got a group on and did it. Loved it. Found out I was pretty good at it. And, fast forward a couple years, I went to Power Seeker my first year and a half. And Brent owned it then. And then we kind of left, went to different gyms, and heard through the grapevine that there wasn't good things happening. And so we took the opportunity, reached out to Brent and talked to him about maybe taking it over. And, man, we fell into a good thing at a good time.
Good.
That's really what happened.
Good.
So fast forward 2 years, another opportunity came up, and bam, we're loving life, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon and Ashley both torture me on a regular basis.
That's
At
right.
least when I get my rear end to the gym, they do a fine job.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
I learned this
Absolutely.
week that if Buddy is rolling around, just leave him alone.
Yeah, it was about 1.5 million toes, reaching your legs up and touching the bar,
Toe-ups,
or
yeah.
so it felt like that. And then I didn't want to waste any extra energy, so instead of sitting up to go do my next activity, I would roll to my stomach
just roll over.
like a dead man, and then get up. And Ashley came over. She's like, "Are you okay? Do I need to call someone?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
A couple of times.
yeah,
I came
I'm
over
like,
to check on
I'm
him.
all right.
That's just called economy of motion.
Yes,
man.
that's exactly it.
Working on
go.
a different process of how to get up.
There
Yes.
you go. So, and Ashley, your story with CrossFit?
So for me, I was a collegiate soccer player.
Okay.
And then I transferred to Boise State. And long story short, I thought I wanted to go to law school, and that didn't end up happening because I spent all my time at the gym instead of in class.
Okay.
So I was a drop-in at Power Seeker, and like my first day there, Brent was like, "Hey, do you want to coach for me?" So that ended up happening, and Brandon and I actually met at Power Seeker. So it was a great outlet for me to go from being a collegiate athlete, still needing like that competitive atmosphere, still needing something to keep myself active. We were seeking other opportunities, other like communities within the Treasure Valley, and then we ended up back at Power Seeker. So,
Well, you forgot that we started dating there as well.
oh yeah, that's where we met.
I kind of figured as much. Yeah. I kind of figured that's kind of how things evolved. So,
Yeah.
It's been a very interesting circle.
yeah.
Life, it's crazy.
Yeah, CrossFit's an interesting culture, to say the least. You said you kind of jumped into it by mistake. I first started doing CrossFit about probably about the same time as you. A friend of mine like literally begged me, just come try it. He's like, just try it for 30 days. And in my head, I had like this image of like people in a garage like throwing rocks and jumping over garbage cans and stuff like that. Just like this very like, we're trying to be as primitive as possible,
Sure.
and when I got there, I was pleasantly surprised. Like my experience with CrossFit, at least with him, wasn't anything like that. It was like, what I loved about it was that it took a lot of the thinking out of the equation for me. I would find myself prior to going to CrossFit, going to the gym and like walking around aimlessly, like, oh, that machine looks good. I'll try that.
Nobody's on that one.
Exactly.
jump in.
You know, I'm sure there's some video footage of me floating around out there somewhere of like that guy who's doing the machine completely wrong, where he's like doing, you know, like the head twister or whatever, and it's like not meant for that at all.
Sure, yeah.
And so, anyways, but my experience with CrossFit was really positive, and it changed a lot of my perceptions from what I had heard, because there's a lot of you know, misconceptions and stigmas associated with CrossFit. And so I guess we can kind of dive right into the question: is CrossFit bad for your health? Yes, no, maybe so.
I think 100% no. I mean,
Agreed.
Yeah. So then the other question then, if it's not bad for your health, where do we hear like all these, or where and or why do we hear a lot of these classic misconceptions about it, that it's going to hurt you, that you're going to get injured if you do CrossFit? There are some doctors that we've had experiences with that dissuade or even tell their patients don't do CrossFit.
Sure,
you know, some chiropractors even say that to their patients.
Some friends of ours, you bet.
Don't do CrossFit. It's bad for you. You know, you're just asking to get injured.
I've had docs say, CrossFit's great for business. You know, they keep sending me
Right,
people.
right,
I'm like,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Couches are great for business.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I think a lot of that, you know, depending on where you go and how often you go and the coaches that are there, you know, everybody can have an awful experience going to Chevron. You know, everybody can have a great experience going to Chevron. I think the mentality that you get from places is, you know, I can do a sit-up. Cool. Okay. Well, if somebody teaches you how to do a proper sit-up, then that's what it is. But if they teach you how to do an incorrect sit-up, of course you're going to get hurt. You're going to strain something. And then there's where CrossFit is not the issue. The coaching is the issue.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing, I saw an interview with Greg Glassman. For those who don't know who Greg Glassman is, he's the founder of CrossFit, and he's a very kind of outspoken, fairly polarizing individual.
Yes.
You know,
Doesn't hide anything.
No.
yeah. He's definitely a very charismatic individual. But I thought it was really cool, his response, because to that end of the coaching, a lot of people criticize in the interview. Anyways, they were kind of saying people are kind of critical that you could get certified to be a CrossFit coach in a weekend, and they were like, "That's kind of," and he's like, "Yeah, isn't that great?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, at least we have standards." You know, he's like, there are some standards that are there that you have to abide by, you know, that, you know, it's like, at least that's the case, you know? And so it was just, that perspective he had on it was really good. And I would wholeheartedly echo what you just said there, in the sense that my experience has been, it's not CrossFit as a whole, it's the coaching and or the gym that you go to, in terms of what happens there is really going to determine the experience that you have.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of having that weekend to potentially get certified, because you have to take an exam, and if you fail the exam, then you don't get to be a coach.
Right.
So, but I think the benefit of that weekend is you're going in there and you're actually applying what you're learning. So you're
very
not
hands-on.
You're not just taking the test online or reading a bunch of books. It's very hands-on, and then you're actually learning how to apply it in class, where if you maybe take like the ACE test, or if you take a personal training class online, it's not giving you the tools of like, this is how you apply it, and this is how you see and correct a flaw.
Yeah.
This is the criteria. Now you figure out how to apply it. That's not what CrossFit's about. And I think that's the benefit of those 2 days of being with the best coaches in the world, and they're giving you their tools, they're giving you their secrets.
Yeah. You know, the other interesting thing that I think Dr. Allen and I were talking about this just a couple days ago in preparation for today's interview, is the thing that I think that's really interesting about CrossFit is that it's a sport, right? You have the fitness side of it, but then you also have the competition side of it. Yeah. And the thing that I find funny is that in the competition side, injuries are, we'll just say, a common occurrence. People at that level of competition, and people like they like almost thumb their nose, is that right? Like they look down on it, like, oh, that's so stupid. Why would you do that and get yourself injured? And the thing I find interesting is no one says that about football.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? Or any other sport where injuries are just an inevitable part of the game. You know, soccer, football, you know, baseball, any of these places, injuries are just an inevitable fact of competition. That anytime you push yourself to a higher level, you're always running some level of risk risk, like you said, motocross. Motocross. How many motocross patients have you seen over the years? And
I've seen tons of them.
they're busted.
Well, one of the very first I ever saw, he was a 22-year-old kid, and I'm like, how many bones have you broken? My first question, how many bones have you broken? Because he competed, right?
Sure.
And he's like, oh, probably 20 at least.
Oh my gosh.
And here's a 22-year-old kid that's broken 20 bones.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Don't kid yourself, you
Yeah.
know?
So I
think-
mean, yeah. What were you going to say?
I mean, CrossFit really has been around 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
The idea of it, or it actually getting out for just your general public to see it, is pretty new.
Right.
Football, soccer, all of these big sports have been around forever.
Yes.
And so, I mean, it's more common to just see that football injury and then be like, hey, they're just going to go back in the tent.
right.
They're going to get a shot and then they're coming back out on the field.
Right.
That doesn't really happen in the CrossFit world. And I mean, those competitive athletes who are showing at the CrossFit games, that's less than 1% of our community.
Right.
So it's not a matter of if they're going to get hurt. It's a matter of when. And
Yeah.
they go into that profession. Like, they make CrossFit a career knowing that.
That's part of the game.
Any competitive level athlete of any kind, you're going to have those types of injuries.
Right.
Period.
And that's what I would say too, is for your guys' experience, you know, the average CrossFit goer, which would be like me, which even then I don't even think I'm to that level yet. But what's my risk of injury? High, low?
Low.
No, I think
For us, I mean, and I would like to hope that every CrossFit gym is like this, but unfortunately it's not. For us, we're not trying to make you come into the gym to be a CrossFit Games athlete. We're
Right.
trying to make you functional to apply it to your life outside of the gym.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
we're
I
trying
mean-
to make sure you're picking up the dog food the right way.
Right.
yeah. I think everyday life movements mimic everything that you do inside the gym. It's just, can we teach you a better way to do it?
Right, and that's a great point that you bring up there too, because I heard I can't even remember who it was. It might have been that same Greg Glassman interview that I saw, where they talked about, well, you're having old ladies do deadlifts, which for those who aren't familiar with deadlifts, it's lifting the barbell, obviously using proper mechanics, straight from the floor, you know, and when people see that image of an older woman or an older man, like doing that, like very like, heavy lift for the, and we shouldn't even say heavy, because you're obviously going to modify the weight accordingly.
Sure, of course.
But his response to that was, well, yeah, is that old lady ever going to pick something up off the ground?
Oh my gosh, grandkids,
You know?
groceries.
Right.
Come on.
Right. And so that's the thing, is these are very practical and very functional things that you guys are doing with people. So yeah, very, very practical from a day-to-day standpoint, even for people that wouldn't consider themselves like athletes or competitors or anything like that. And that was the thing for me that I noticed when I was doing CrossFit regularly. So my quick story real quick is I did it for, like I said, it was about 4 years ago, but I haven't been doing it for 4 years. I did it for about 2 or 3 years pretty consistently. And then I started converting my garage into my own little personal kind of CrossFit-esque setup, which
Time saver.
yeah, time saver for sure. And I know I'm not getting nearly the same level of workouts that I would be getting if I had like professionals like you guys actually preparing those workouts for me, because it's a lot easier to make the workouts easier on yourself than to have them designed by you guys. But that's the point being is, when I was doing those workouts in CrossFit, I noticed that they were very practical in terms of, you know, strengthening your core and strengthening your overall frame, and making sure that you could do a lot of the just regular things that you do on a day in, day out basis. So anyhow, so what do you guys love most about being CrossFit coaches?
Oh man. Go ahead. I got too much to say about that.
Yeah.
For me, it's the people. Like,
Yeah.
I could really care less about the business side of it. I love coming in and getting to know every single person and knowing them outside of the gym.
Yeah.
So I obviously need to know, and I want to know your injuries and your limitations and all of that stuff inside of the gym, but I want to know, was work crap today?
Yeah.
Because that's going to affect your workout inside of the gym.
Sure.
But I also want to know, how are your kids? How's your wife?
Yeah.
What are you eating outside of the gym? Like,
Yeah.
I love the relationship side of CrossFit.
Perfect. That's awesome.
I would say I would totally, coming from someone from the outside, you know, attending your gym, before CrossFit, I was just like Chad. I mean, I worked out pretty regularly at the gym, and I remember, I was at least 4 days a week, consistent. I thought I worked out hard. I remember my first week of CrossFit workouts, and I was like, holy crap, have I ever worked out a day in my life? Like it was a different kind of training.
Yeah.
And then it really was the, like if it's left up to me, I'm never going to push myself as hard as,
we never do.
as I should, or as I actually even think I could. The workouts in CrossFit, I would never, there are certain workouts that I'm like, first of all, whoever thought this up, because they're insane. But what's crazier is when you actually do them and you're like, I finished it, that's awesome. So that community part of working out for me is just massive.
And it's also being held accountable and like not cutting that squat short and just going just low enough to feel that burn. Like, are you still getting below parallel?
Yeah.
Are you still hitting that target with that wall ball every time, or are you going a few?
Are you cheating yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you getting full extension of that box at the top?
Yeah, I think for me, like what I enjoy the most is seeing that expression on somebody's face after you convince them that putting those 2.5s on each side or going up 5 pounds heavier, the expression on their face after they do it, and they're just amazed, and the happiness that you see in them.
Sure.
I could just float away. I mean, it makes me feel so good.
Seeing people break through either physical and or mental barriers that they had
90% of it is mental. Like nobody's ever convinced me to do that, or nobody's ever told me that I should turn the box over to a 24 instead of a 20, or like that oh shit factor. Sorry. Yep. But
you're good.
It's huge.
Sure.
And the critical thing is knowing just how much to push that person to where they can do it and not hurt themselves.
Right.
That is such a fine line of, am I doing it correctly? Am I doing it properly? And then that expression and that gratitude that person has is, man.
Right.
It's believing in our members when they can't believe in themselves.
Oh, it's huge.
I truly believe in, if you can have that confidence for them through that, and then just help them like
amazing.
reach that goal. Yeah. You believed in them, and then at the end of the day, they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
So awesome.
I think what you guys are saying are all elements or at the heart of what good coaching is all about, is really finding what you said, that kind of fine line of stretching somebody to the point where, they're going to break through some of those barriers, but then also knowing where that limit is in terms of, because you can run that risk of injury and or whatever, but knowing that is, again, that's going to come from years of experience of knowing that those kind of boundaries. And
just like any other profession, I mean, you guys go to school and you get your certificate or your degree. It's not like you just stop there.
Right.
You continue to learn, you continue to drive, and you continue to make yourself better. It's the same for us. It's not like we go to that one weekend and we get our level 1 and then we just now we can own a gym.
Yeah.
We're at the top.
Yeah. I mean,
how often do you guys, that being said, how often do you guys do continuing education?
Every day for me.
Well, I mean, we'll say formal continuing education, because obviously every day in the gym, just like every day in practice, you're learning. But in terms of like how often do you guys go to conferences and things like that?
So I don't go to any conferences. I have another business that I go to 100% of the time too, and so my learning is more visual and physical, like being on spot. Like I learn from people every day. Okay, that cue worked for this guy, but it doesn't work for that guy. So how am I going to make up something that it can say the same thing, but in different ways? Sure. And I think for me having a dictionary of cues that mean the same thing, is a huge learning experience for me. And I think I get a lot of that every single day, every class. And even when I'm on the other side of coaching as an athlete, hearing people talk to one another, sharing their personal cues, and then I just absorb that because it was awesome. Sure. And so I learn a different way. I learn from the athletes themselves. And
that makes sense to me. And how about you? Same?
Well, no.
Different?
I mean, for me, I think you could have all the credentials in the world, and I honestly don't think that they mean anything if you're not providing results. So, right. Yeah, I have my level 1 and I have my level 2, and I would potentially love to get to level 4. I think being a seminar staff would be an incredible opportunity, but every day. Like I'm watching videos, I'm trying to read books, I'm listening to podcasts. Last week
She just bought some anatomy books. She
There you
asked
go.
me for my favorite anatomy books.
There you go. You got her netters.
Uh-huh.
Netters anatomy.
so-
There we go.
I mean, there are tons of opportunities. They don't all come to the Treasure Valley area. So if you want to get that, CrossFit offers a ton of online certifications
Sure.
that you can get. But if you want the hands-on one, a lot of times you're going to have to travel for them,
Yeah.
which
Sure.
is fine. We traveled for my level 2 and that was awesome.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of certifications and stuff, but like she said, you know, if you don't practice that or
Not in the
continuously
trenches
learn,
doing
like,
it. Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. Yeah, cool. I got 900 certifications. Cool.
Yeah.
And
But I
it's
haven't-
not like,
but I haven't taught anybody anything.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's for me. I don't want somebody to come into the gym and be like, hey, today's my first day. Like, what can you guys offer? I got my level 2.
Yeah.
Right.
You're in great hands because I got my level 2. No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure that I provide a result for you.
Right.
And then I don't care about any of the certifications.
No, that makes sense. So for those who are listening who are local, what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you guys?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we just updated our website.
Okay.
If you had ever been on our old website, it was.
Oh boy.
I mean, when we took over Power Seeker, there was no website.
Okay.
It was literally you typed in powerseekercrossfit.com and it was like, do you want to buy this domain? So we had one of our coaches, her husband, put our website together, and all we said was like, we need a phone number, our address, and our class times.
The
That's all
basics.
we need on it. But then now with this new transition, I was like, okay, we gotta get a website,
It's legitimate
a
now.
legit website. We have to have something, and so you can go to our website, powerseekercrossfit.com. It's up.
PowerSeekerCrossFit.com. We'll make sure in the show notes we have
link.
the link
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Or follow us
Seeker.
on Facebook or any of
Yeah,
that stuff
Facebook,
too.
Instagram. We have emails, phone numbers. I don't know if we want to put all of that stuff in the
Yeah,
notes.
yeah, we can put
put
whatever.
links.
Yeah, we'll put links to everything. So, for those who are here locally, that's how you get a hold of them. What would somebody locally? So let's say we've got people who are like, I want to check this out. What can we expect coming in for the first visit at Power Seeker CrossFit?
So, we don't offer an on-ramp class. We invite all new people to just jump into class.
Okay.
If you're super intimidated or you haven't worked out for a really long time, I would say don't come to the 5 or 6 a.m. because those are really big classes.
Sure.
But all skill levels, all abilities, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Like size, age, it
Is
doesn't
and
matter.
I guess for those people who are maybe intimidated, is it an intimidating experience coming?
So I love the fact when somebody comes in and they're, you know, have their arms crossed and they're kind of standing by the front door, and you go up and you're like, hey, how's it going? You know, what can I do for you? And they're like, well, I've heard about this and I want to try it. And then you're just pumped and you're excited and you tell them about it and they're like, oh, so it's not that bad.
Right.
Well,
The
no, of
hardest
course it's
part
not.
is
I
getting
mean,
in the car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Driving to the gym, that's the hardest part.
driving down, knowing that you're scared out of your mind, and then you get there and then you see everybody, all walks of life in there working out, sweating and cheering everybody on. You know, I think that helps out a lot too, because everybody from A to Z in our gym, you know, and they all love it.
Yeah, that was the thing I think that really did actually surprise me quite a bit when I came into CrossFit for the first time, was seeing a very diverse, clientele
Oh, I love
in
it.
terms of
Love
that.
it.
You know, that there was people from, like you said, A to Z in terms of levels of ability, and so that made it far less intimidating to me. You know, in terms of getting started, where I'm like, these other people are doing it, so you know, and and we naturally, I think sometimes identify where we fit in the line. You know, like
Sure.
I'm like
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy's probably a little bit stronger than I am and a little bit more fit than me, but I definitely know I'm probably better than him.
Oh, yeah.
So, and in my case, I had to like look at the women. I'm like, I'm better. I've got to be better than her. She's like 80.
Yeah, and the classic-
and then I wasn't.
And then the classic statement is, well, I need to get in shape to go into CrossFit. Well,
Right.
No, you don't. You
why
just
you
need
go
to
to
come
CrossFit,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
I need
true.
to go. I need to go run or get some workouts in, and then I'll come to CrossFit.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
no.
it's not like if we program a handstand push-up or a muscle up, if you can't do that, you can't show up today.
Right.
Show up and we're going to give you something
You can modify,
equally as
yeah.
hard for you that's still going to
Well, and if you came
Still
in,
gonna
if you
get you in
came
that
in,
range of motion.
yeah, if you came into any class, anytime, we're open 11 hours a day, and if you came into any one of the classes, I guarantee you, half of those people are doing a different movement.
Yeah.
The same movement, but in a different way.
Yes, modification.
They're doing the same weighted motion, different poundage, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's doing the same workout, so they don't feel isolated or, oh, well, why is that person doing that when I'm doing this?
Yeah.
Everybody has the same workout. It's just modified to their ability, and everybody finishes roughly in the same time frame, and it's
perfect.
awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule. Again, I'm sure you guys probably have classes today and tomorrow going on. So thanks for being here with us and taking time to share this with us. For those who are interested, Power Seekers CrossFit. Hope this has been valuable for you guys. If you know other people that could benefit from what we've shared, share this with them. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, and we'll share more with you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks. You guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Health Fundamentals Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so that you stay in the loop and in the know with all of the cutting-edge health information that we share. If you know other people that could benefit from this information, please share it with them as well. Also, be sure to give us a review. These really help us to ultimately help more people. Last but not least, if you have questions that you want answered live on the show, or if you have ideas for topics that you would like us to cover, please shoot us an email and let us know at info@thehealthfundamentals.com.